Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to Asset Management Awareness Month. My name is Scott Ray. I am the Vice President of Seminars and Events for the NPMA, and I'm happy to have you here today. So welcome to our last presentation of AMAM. We are joined today by two wonderful presenters, Ivonne Bachar and Scott Petersen, to present on personal professional development and mentorship. Before we get into the presentation, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. The first item is that we will be taking questions at the end. So definitely jot those questions down, submit them through the question box. Lisa who is monitoring those questions, she will make note that they're there, and then she'll present the questions to Ivonne and Scott at the conclusion of their presentation. Also, there is a PDF available of the slides in the handout section. So if you are interested in the content that's being presented today and would like to take that back with you or save a copy, there is a PDF available for you to utilize. Let's see, what else am I forgetting here? You can play with your screen a little bit if you would like to make the presentation bigger or smaller. The presenters today will not be sharing their cameras, so that may not be of any significance, but that is available if you would like. And last but not least, I will say, if you missed anything over the last month, there's a presentation you were really looking forward to, something came up, another meeting, appointments, what have you. The presentations from AMAM are being uploaded, and most are now available on our YouTube channel. Definitely check out the NPMA YouTube channel, and those are available for you to watch at your leisure when you have some time. So with that, let's get into our presentation, get into our content for the day. I'd like to go ahead and welcome in Ivonne Bachar and Scott Petersen, both of whom are CPPMs and consulting fellows. So Ivonne and Scott, I thank you for doing this. Welcome into the broadcast today, and I will turn everything over to you.
Thanks, Scott. And Scott, we have two Scotts here this morning, and I'm really excited to be part of this Asset Management Awareness Month for 2024. It's been a great lineup of topics, and hopefully we're wrapping this up for you this month with kind of a golden button in terms of how all of these things apply to you and the value of going forward with your own continued professional development. By way of brief introduction, of course, I'm Ivonne Bachar. I'm the Senior Director for the Property Management Office at Stanford University, currently the Vice President for the Western Region of NPMA, and also a longtime member of the association, which is a great professional resource, information, networking, etc. Scott, how about you introducing yourself before we get started?
Sure. I'm Scott Petersen. I am, as was mentioned by Scott, a CPPM and a consulting fellow. I'm currently the consulting fellow chair for our council, and stood up an NPMA chapter up in Idaho. Now we're rolling along, and I work for Raytheon, who is an RTX business, as we had a bunch of mergers that happened, and I perform contractor self-assessments everywhere around in the United States. So I get to travel and I get to see all different types of property. So it's a great opportunity.
Awesome, thank you. And Scott, you're coming to us today from Idaho, right? And
yes,
I'm here with you today from just a little bit north of Dallas, Texas. So it's awesome that we can be anywhere and still do all these things. Okay, so Lisa, if you'll take us through into the presentation, we'll get started. There we go. Okay, so professional development. And you're probably thinking to yourself, or you might be thinking to yourself, why are we hearing this again? We've heard about this a lot. It's been around for many years. Well, you know, professional development, I think, is not only always important, and I will say this vehemently, and I truly believe this, it's more relevant today and continues to be more relevant today than ever before. Things have always changed fast in the work environment for many different reasons. I think now it's changing not only at a rapid pace, but the type of complexity, the different things being thrown at us from not only a personnel perspective, a regulatory perspective, a technology perspective. All of those things imply skill building, right? The skills that are necessary to be effective and to do what we need to do. So it's really a very relevant and essential part of our ongoing success. It's a way also to get us past the whole notion of maybe you're feeling for some reason a little stagnant, or working in a remote or a hybrid environment, maybe you're feeling a little bit invisible, right, to the rest of the organization, where you may not have felt that way when you were in person. Just a different type, a different level of interaction. And one of the key things, amongst many, with professional development is we want to keep sharp. We want to keep in the forefront. We want to be ready for opportunities, not get ready when we see something come up and then try and catch up. So if I said that not quite clearly, what I meant to say was be ready in advance. Don't wait for something to show up. So put yourself in a kind of a win-win situation in terms of that. Also, I also advise all of us, and myself included, let's not write on the shirt tails of the pandemic. The pandemic affected us in many different ways. There was many reasons why things were done differently, but it doesn't mean we slow down the value and the approach we take in our professional development, because we are our own catalyst, right? We are the ones that make our own development happen. We are the stewards. We are the masters of that whole process, and we need to take ownership. Now, one of the words that's often used with this is that, you know, we're not only a catalyst, but we want to precipitate events, precipitate a situation. Now, looking at the pure terminology, that seems often to have kind of a negative term, acting suddenly, acting without care, acting, you know, kind of in a reactive mode. I tend to look at that as developing a condition or a situation that then leads you to some result. And I like to look at it as it leads you to a positive result. It gives you a traceable path of where you've been and where we're going. And taking our own ownership of that is really an important part of this. So bottom line, we want to make things happen. We want to take ownership. We want to be accountable. And we want to demonstrate that our own development, we're not only investing in ourselves, but that our management, our personnel, our, if you want to say your boss, your supervisor, whomever supports you in your role, where you work, they're seeing you as a valuable investment because you are a great resource to them. So let's take a brief look at why is this important in business, Lisa, on the next slide. So in the business environment, we deal with many different things, right? We deal with people, we deal with processes, we deal with systems, we deal with rules or regulations or guidelines, principles. There's all kinds of language out there. And this first bullet here, defining boundaries, by that, I'm not implying that it's a limitation in any way. So in defining a boundary in terms of professional development, it's more about clarifying what's happening, clarifying goals, not necessarily setting limits, right? But setting parameters through which either you will work up to or work through in order to develop your level of skills. It can affect roles and responsibilities. It can impact your career ladder, if that's still an appropriate term these days, succession planning, your own progression. Sometimes it's just getting better at the job you're currently doing. not necessarily getting so out of your comfort zone, although a little bit out of your comfort zone is not a bad thing. It's important in business because it advocates accountability, meaning you say what you're going to do, you have a plan, you have an intention, you're working towards investing in yourself, you are demonstrating your commitment through your performance and the degree of responsibility that you take. You're balancing your personal perspective versus how you perform in a particular role, which is all really important. And part of that, although this may sound dictatorial, it is not intended to be in any way. It demonstrates respect for authority. And by that, I'm looking at implying, showing dignity, showing respect, showing ethics, listening, being attentive, having curiosity, asking a lot of questions, wanting to understand the why behind something, the how, the when, what was the cause? If this is the result, then how did we get there? What was the process to do that? Trusting the guidance that you're being provided by your supervisors, by your coworkers, maybe by that network of professionals or friends, and strengthening our own self-respect. I think in many cases, because property management sometimes has a little bit of an identity crisis, I think, in some organizations, in terms of what we do and how we do it, and how we are valuable within the organization, because a smooth running property operation kind of falls under the radar unless there's a problem, right? So we want to have confidence without having arrogance. We want to prioritize our goals, and we want to reduce potentials for conflict, understanding a process, right? By having that emotional intelligence, by not only working with things and processes and procedures, but with people. And people includes yourself. How you view yourself, how you present yourself, how you speak, how you ask questions, how you are present, how you participate in all of the aspects of your organization. So in my mind, professional development is really essential. Without people, and I know there's artificial intelligence, right? There's a big move on that now. There's all kinds of automation. There's all these different things that can happen behind the scenes where seemingly the human touch is not as involved. But in my personal opinion, I think that is still such an essential part of what we do, and building our skills, our abilities, our operational knowledge is really important in the bigger scheme of things. So if we go to the next slide, Lisa, in terms of your professional development, what's in your plan? And again, here's a term I'm sure you've heard, SMART goals, right? Have goals. What do you want to do? What do you plan to do? What do you wish you could do? So a wish is a great thing, but without a plan, usually just ends up being a wish, and it oftentimes doesn't come to fruition. So doing things in a manner that kind of overlays the complexity of what you're trying to do with the reality of what you are able to do and the resources you have really tie into it really, really importantly. Doing things in small increments, right? That's part of what SMART goals are all about, being measurable, being achievable, being realistic. And I would actually call them not just SMART goals, but smarter goals, SMARTER, meaning add to the list of the usual: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, or relevant, timely. Add two things: evaluate and reward, right? Circle back, do a self-assessment periodically. It doesn't have to be a big formal process or a big timely activity that you undergo, but do a self-check, right? Where am I compared to 6 months ago, compared to a year ago? On the other hand, where do I want to be 6 months from now or a year from now? That then can be used kind of as a measure for your self-assessment. In terms of resources, oftentimes we tend to think of resources primarily as what money do I need to accomplish something? But I would ask you to consider things like access to information, levels of authority, pardon me, time. One of the biggest challenges, I think, and I do hear and I see this in articles that I read quite often, one of the biggest challenges for self-improvement or self-development, professional development, pardon me, is having the time. It's like, oh my gosh, I have a full-time job. I'm doing 30 things at once. I have a family. I'm going to school. I'm doing all of these things, right? How do you balance it? But you know what? I would venture to say each and every one of us, if it's something truly important to us, we'll find a way to at least dedicate a little bit of time. And once you get into that habit and that pattern, it becomes easier to make that part of your routine. So having strategies, right? What is your plan of action? What are the choices you're going to make? Okay. Having a strategy provides you kind of a roadmap, okay, a blueprint for where you want to go, what you want yourself, your attitude, your skill level, your position, etc. What do you want that to look like in the future? And as you're going through this, remember, please, to always include your own personal ethics, your own personal integrity, reflect your values, what is important to you. Yes, it's certainly about what's important to the organization, right? Because in many cases, we think of professional development in terms of our work. Okay. I would also challenge us to think of personal and professional development, because we do a lot of things outside of work. Volunteering for things like NPMA, right? For example, that is not necessarily part of our jobs, but it's a valuable part of our livelihood and what we do. Keep aligned with where you want to go, and focus your efforts. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I would like to just close this slide by saying, hey, a strategy is the method by which you're going to achieve some goals. What do you want to achieve, and what's your strategy? How do you plan on doing it? What is your roadmap? And Lisa, if we can go to the next slide, what should we focus on? You're telling me focus, do all these things. Well, where do I look? Where do I start? There's so many things to choose from. So I would say these key things. Focus on functional activities related to your job. Yes, in that case, what things support your organizational objectives? Okay. What things support and or enhance the way you do your job on a day-to-day basis? Okay. What things might enable you to better measure the quality or the services you're providing? What skills do you need to enhance? For example, Excel. Okay. Most of us probably use Excel to some degree. Some of us are at the novice level. Some of us do incredible things. Excel is a very powerful tool, and I'm just using that as one example. But where do you want to be in your skill level, and how might that enhance what you're doing within your organization? Developing your analytical skills, process analysis, etc. So some examples of a functional focus. Self-management. Peeling, and I have this image behind the screen here on purpose. Kind of you're peeling the layers of that onion, right? You are looking at different things at different levels. Sometimes it's very general, sometimes it's very specific. Sometimes it's going to be comfortable. Sometimes it may even bring you to tears just a little bit, like an onion might. But again, you kind of work through that, right? What is your personal productivity? Communication skills. Mastering a particular aspect of your job. In other words, being a subject matter expert. Keeping positivity, being flexible, being resilient. Those are all aspects under the whole concept of self-management. And special knowledge, we are a niche market. Okay. Property, in my opinion, is an area of specialty. So master it. Okay. Now you're saying, sure, Yvonne, that's easier said than done. What are you going to master? There's so many things. Knowing more about certain aspects of the FAR, knowing more about liability, knowing more about title. How does that compare with FAR versus uniform guidance versus other transaction agreements, etc.? So where do you want to specialize your skill set in and really be known for that level of information? Mastering, being certified, okay? Knowing regulatory details and how it's relevant in your organization and how you apply it. In other words, all of these are traits and abilities that then make you qualified then to fulfill other tasks or other responsibilities as the opportunity arises. All is said and done, keep in mind what fits within your long-term plan, what fits within your horizon. And let's look next at a few buzzwords in terms of different concepts. And there are many to be said, but in this slide and the next one, I just want to focus on a few. And you've probably heard these words many times over recent years, right? Okay. Growth mindset, relevant. You can certainly read what's there on the slide. All of these things ultimately lead to us being open-minded, being willing to learn, being unafraid to fail, feeling valued, having a sense of connectivity, a resource pool of information, brain power that we can call upon when necessary, feeling the whole notion of inclusion, demonstrating the concept of inclusion, getting different people's opinion. And in terms of networking, I would throw out these 4 key things for you. 1, who knows you? Okay. 2, who knows who? Different questions. Who knows who outside of you being in the equation? Who knows you? Who do you know, or who do you know of? Okay. And who would you like to know? Okay. Different way of thinking about this a little bit. So not that you don't necessarily need to type answers in the chat, but you can if you wish. I would ask you to think about this. If you could choose one person, to spend a day with, even an hour with, okay, and you could pick their brain on whatever subject is a priority for you, who would that be? Okay. Keep in mind that that individual should kind of tie into your long-term goals, okay, help you identify or support your trajectory. Okay. And in terms of trajectory, I tend to think of that as connecting the dots, right? Keeping in mind what leads to what is your direction, and the whole aspect of digital skills is about technology. So many things having to do with technology. That's certainly a session for all kinds of different conversation, but keep those in mind. So let's look at a couple of other terms that, 2 in particular that are coming up quite often these days: upskilling and reskilling. Upskilling, defining new skills to help you perform your current role. Reskilling is developing new skills that will help you transition to a different role. Okay? Interrelated perhaps, but they could be 2 separate things. Ultimately, it's preparing you to move perhaps from an individual contributor to a leadership position, preparing you for advancement, preparing you for maybe more scope of responsibility within your current job, that type of thing. So those terms are important, and they kind of go hand in hand with leveling up, meaning building your, I would say, your library of skills, right? What are your own personal resources that you wish to develop? Now, all of this said, remember I mentioned a few challenges: time constraints, your availability, okay? How wanting to be sure that what you're doing, you're keeping relevant to whatever your goal is. Oftentimes it puts us out of our comfort zone, right? So we may be a little bit of resistance to change. Don't be afraid of that, because sometimes that gives us a little more adrenaline flowing, a little more energy going, that helps kind of move us past. And both of these aspects, upskilling, reskilling, leveling up, even transferable skills, what's applicable to more than one position, right? They're really helping us to break that whole barrier of perhaps feeling like we're a little bit invisible. Maybe even being limited by this concept of paper ceiling, meaning, you know, I don't have a college degree, so that's getting in my way. That should not be an insurmountable hurdle. Okay? Sometimes it makes it a little more difficult. However, giving your skill set, demonstrating what you can do and how you can do it, enables us to really stay competitive and bridge that skill gap that we may have going on. So Lisa, let's look at a few elements of a successful professional. Okay. these are some skills, some key things ultimately, and this image is there purposely because ultimately we want to have others have confidence and trust in what we're doing. How can we demonstrate that? By showing, exhibiting these particular skill sets, right? These are what I would call standards within a profession, standards of performance. These are the infrastructure, right? The backbone of what helps us perform our duties. And one of the next, well, not one of, the next to the last thing on this slide, kind of a little bit of a sensitive topic, but I threw this in here because I think it's kind of become very relevant once again, is appropriateness. And that could mean a lot of different things, right? I'm thinking of this in terms of our tone, the language, our appearance. We've gotten, in many cases, because of Zoom or whatever the case may be, we tend to think of it as a very casual interaction. Okay? Maybe that's the culture within our organization, and that's cool. Okay? However, keep in mind, who are you interacting with? What are you doing? What's your role in that particular session, in that particular meeting? Are you a listener, a bystander, or are you the presenter? Are you presenting a business case for which you want to present a persuasive argument, right, to get an approval for something? So just be present, understand the organizational culture and what the norms are within your organization and how we interact. So I just put these all on here kind of as a conglomeration of concepts that really ultimately should be the backbone to leading others to be able to trust us. And ultimately building a good relationship or good working relationships is what it's all about. So let's look at, why do we do all this? What are some of the benefits? Okay. In general, and this can be, as I said, personal development, professional development within the workplace, etc. So in my mind, it's about readiness, right? A lot of it is about building that inner strength that you need, building the knowledge, adding to your library of knowledge and skills that you can have at the ready when an opportunity comes up. If someone asks you a question that you don't usually deal with, have some information about what that might be. Building that network, okay? Think of network as not only a group of individuals, it can be information, not always just people, but look, it's a safety net, okay? It is a group of resources. It's a sounding board that we can use. It is maybe a listening ear. It might be a source for guidance. It might be a corrective action. Maybe someone that's kind of, giving us a kick in the pants that says, hey, get up, get going, you can get through this, right? So there's going to be many different aspects of that, but individuals, information, resources within that network, a combination of things. Having that be, in fact, I listened to something a little earlier, looking for things that we may have in common and not avoiding differences, because sometimes those differences of opinion is what's going to say, aha, okay, now I see this a different way. And ultimately, you want to be credible. You want to have a positive reputation. Your reputation, our reputations precede us, okay? People make assumptions oftentimes based on what they hear about our reputation. So we want to be sure that that's as possible. And ultimately, yeah, you can learn a lot of cool new things. New skills, new abilities. You may even surprise yourself, right, with what you can do and how you can achieve something. And I put the word other in there because personally, you may think of other beneficial outcomes. Some people may say, well, I'm going to get a promotion out of this. I'm going to get more pay. You may. That's not necessarily always the driving force behind why professional development. But ultimately, we want to be part of the solution of whatever's going on versus being part of the challenge, okay? We want to have the opportunity to, if we're in the service providing industry, right, we want to get repeat business. We want to have an opportunity to inspire change and influence others and influence a process, which are all very, very important and valuable. Lisa, so how do we do this? How do we grow, okay? generally speaking, and each of these can be a whole topic unto themselves, but what is your vision? As I said, where do we want to be? Where do you want to be? Where do I want to be 6 months from now, a year from now? Okay. Don't be afraid to try something a little different. Being a little nervous is a good thing. Being a lot nervous, you may say, oh, that's a whole other story, right? But you know what? Sometimes then you figure out how to work through it. And each time you move and develop your skills, you become a little more comfortable with doing something that normally you would not have. The middle one here, hone your time management skills. Across the board applicable. Okay. More than ever, we're balancing a million things. Okay. Professional development, you may want to say, I want to develop, and again, I go back to the example of Excel, because I think we're all very familiar with Excel. I want to learn more. Do I have, 30 minutes to dedicate? Do I have 6 hours? Do I have 3 months? I don't know, whatever it takes within your area, but squeezing in the time to do that. And another thing too, oftentimes the expectation is, oh, my boss doesn't give me the time to do this. I don't have time at work. Well, oftentimes we may need to invest in ourselves. Okay. We may need to find time on our personal time to fit all of this in. It's great if we can do it as part of our job, but it's not necessarily always, the seed isn't always going to be planted from there, right? We have to initiate, we have to promote ourselves. We need to make ourselves visible. Talk to your supervisor, express to them what your interest is, what your goal is. Look at small increments, okay? How do you be visible in some areas? How do you promote yourself? Speaking up at meetings. When there's a call for an agenda item, add an agenda item. You be the speaker about that, okay? Provide opinion in my thoughts based on my experience. Ask questions. If you're afraid to share maybe where you're coming from, ask questions. That way you're putting others in a situation where they can share information from you. And ultimately, that's another way of you developing your skill set and your knowledge. So a lot of different ways in we can do this. And let's look at just a couple of more, Lisa. Look and act the part. I mentioned, our appearance, our presence, our keeping in mind the purpose with which we are participating or presenting some information. Observe others. Okay. It's interesting. I often hear from folks, oh, I'm really afraid to do a presentation. I've never done it. I would never get in front of a group to speak. I have a hard time managing meetings, etc. We do a lot of meetings in property management, right? Watch how others do it. Okay? Observe their behavior. And you know what? Sometimes it's not about learning what they do, but maybe saying, that's exactly what I don't want to do, right? So there's a two-way street there. In terms of working with others or others working with you, seek and provide feedback. And by feedback, I don't mean criticism. Okay? It's observations. What I have observed is what I see you doing. How this comes across is X, Y, Z. On the other hand, asking, how did it go? Did I get my point across? Was I clear in how I conveyed that message? Did I interpret that regulation correctly? So having these skills and sharing that information ultimately will grow your level of expertise and level with how you're doing things and what you're doing things. And last but not least, Lisa, let's take a look at, okay, within our place of business, okay, and I've mentioned a couple of these already. How can we grow professionally? Yes, I already mentioned devote some of your personal time. Speak up, access information, look at information, try and understand what's happening within the culture. Ask your supervisor, hey, what major initiatives are going on? Look at the website for other departments and see what are their goals for the year, right? Volunteering to be part of something, even if it's just being a note taker. And I don't take that lightly because taking good notes during a meeting is a real important thing. Become a pro at networking. Again, it's not just about, oh, I know this person or that person knows me. Sometimes it's just having a casual conversation with someone and bringing them into not maybe your ongoing network, but a point of contact. I happened to be standing in line at the airport yesterday, and the lady behind me, we just got to chatting for just a second. And in about 2 minutes, I found out she worked for FEMA. She was an emergency planner. She goes on site. She manages and accounts for their equipment going forward. She manages their training, and all of that by asking a few questions, right? It's not just, hey, how are you doing? How's your day? Have a good day. But based on words they say, ask leading questions, get more information. And understanding the market, what's out there? What are the job trends? What do I need to build my skill set in order to stay competitive or to be ready again for the next opportunity? And last but not least, and with this I will hand it over to Scott because he's going to be elaborating on this, find a mentor. Maybe even be a mentor for others. Okay? Just because you are a relative novice in the field doesn't mean you can't be a mentor to others. Okay? Because we all come at different points in times in our lives and in our careers, and we can share information, and you getting a mentor, then you have other people to guide you and to which you can ask questions. So Scott, let me turn it over to you so you can talk a little bit more about what is a mentor and what do we have to offer about mentorship.
All right, sounds good. Next slide, Lisa. Thank you. I've got an echo here. Nope. Go back, please. Okay, so as some of you may be aware, there has been a desire to have a mentoring program in the association for many years. And there have been a few times where programs have been started, but there just didn't seem to be enough lift to get it off the ground. And slide 14, please. So it made me think of other things that hadn't been done before, like back in 1903, when the Wright brothers first attempted powered flight. The member mentorship program has been in work for a couple of years, and much like the Wright Flyer 1, there was a 15-second flight followed by a 59-second flight. I'd like to think of this next iteration as the Flyer 3, where the rest will be history. Next slide, please. So one of the biggest reasons people join professional associations is to take advantage of the mentorship opportunities. The NPMA has never had a formal mentoring program, and what better way to advance in your career than to interact one-on-one with someone who has experience to tap into. Next slide. So the member mentorship program is to facilitate mutually beneficial relationships between consulting fellows, mentors, and those newer to the industry, those mentees. Its purpose is to offer a structured format where mentors can provide mentees with knowledge, advice, guidance, encouragement, and anything else that might help traversing the world of property accountability. Next, please. So mentor is a wise advisor. This is defined, of course, an intimate friend who also is a sage counselor, especially one who is young or inexperienced. So this is found in Homer's Greek epic poem, The Odyssey, where mentor, the name of a person, is a friend of Odysseus and advisor to Telemachus, but often actually Athena in disguise. No wonder I didn't really get that very well. The name perhaps ultimately means advisor because in form, it's an agent noun of mentos, so intent, purpose, spirit, passion, and one who thinks. Next slide, please. So here are 9 reasons why you should have a mentor for your personal or business goals. Increased knowledge. Mentors are valuable knowledge sources. They can give you the best insight in your current level of industry or on specific topics or challenges. They have already been through it. They'll provide relevant advice on issues like why it depends and be able to connect their experiences with your own. Constructive criticism, as was mentioned by Yvonne, friends and family members may hesitate to provide the types of feedback you need to make a change in your personal life. Mentors offer constructive criticism designed to strengthen areas that may need improvement, and without this insight, growth may take longer to achieve. Personal growth. Mentors can look for ways to encourage personal growth. Once they understand your skills and abilities, they may put you to work on specific tasks, kind of like homework, to encourage and improve your ability to dig deep. Based on your performance, they might give you another challenge to test you or give you detailed feedback on what you did well and what you may improve upon that help grow along the way. Words of encouragement. When you need an extra boost of confidence, mentors offer support and words of encouragement to keep you going when things get tough. Without a mentor, negative thoughts may become more prominent in your daily life, especially when dealing with a difficult subject or issue. Positive encouragement helps motivate you to keep trying to do your best despite the challenges. Unbiased opinions. Because mentors play a neutral role in your life, they can give unbiased opinions on subjects you care about. For example, if you have several ideas for a discrepant shipment process and need to choose the best options, mentors are great resources for that advice. Drawing on their past experiences, mentors provide opinions that they believe fit your circumstances best. They're also a trusted ally. The relationship between a mentor and a mentee must be built upon trust, honesty, and transparency. When you need someone you can trust, having a mentor as an objective third party is a great resource. Goal setting, also mentioned several times by Ivonne. If you need help setting and achieving goals like certification, becoming a consulting fellow, or creating a new property plan, mentors are perfect allies to keep you accountable. Your mentor can help you develop your career by setting new goals for you and provide clarity on what actions to take. They're also able to provide new perspectives. Working with a mentor is life-changing because it helps you shed light on where you are and what you want to become. While mentors are not therapists, they help promote feelings of awareness and discovery that only come through conscious effort. Once you've experienced life with a mentor, you may want to share your experiences with others too, which helps you become a better leader yourself and provides you with a new perspective on life. Networking connections, mentioned multiple times. Mentors commonly offer to share their network connections with their mentees. When you enlist help of a mentor, you increase your chances for new professional contacts, which may lead you to new experiences and new opportunities. Next slide, please. So some of the benefits for mentees. Well, they get help navigating and preparing for career advancement. They gain understanding and perspective of from a more experienced professional. They get help setting and achieving their goals, like I mentioned. They have opportunities for skill and development and new knowledge. Again, those networking opportunities that I mentioned, and also a meaningful personal relationship. Next slide, please. Now we have the mentor benefits. So it's not just all the mentee. The mentee doesn't get all the benefits from this. It's also the mentors. So they have the opportunity to nurture new talent. As a mentor, they have opportunities to develop leadership, communication, and other soft skills. As a mentor, they get personal and professional growth. They also have increased self-esteem and fulfillment that comes from giving back to one's profession, as well as an opportunity to network with other mentors. Next slide, please. But this isn't all. Wait, folks. There's also benefits for the association in general. Enhanced experience for existing members and improved member retention rates. Incentive for new members to join and growth for the organization. Another benefit is better member engagement and satisfaction, as well as opportunity to develop the industry by the people in it. So Harvard Business Review had a look at a bunch of CEOs, and when CEOs, sorry, go back. Harvard Business Review CEOs, they were looking at this kind of support and the good outcomes to follow. They surveyed 45 CEOs who have formal mentoring agreements, and 71 of them said they were certain that company performance had improved as a result. Strong majorities reported that they were making better decisions, 69%, and more capably fulfilling stakeholder expectations. That's 76%. But more than anything else, these CEOs credited mentors with helping them avoid costly mistakes and become proficient in their roles faster at an 84%. So spoken by one of the CEOs that he called mentoring a more practical way to develop. Now I'm ready for the next slide, Lisa. Thank you. So what's next? Well, we have this program mentoring, the program path, which is signing up, preparation, pairing, and communication. So those are the next four things we're going to talk about here. So the next slide is about signing up. So there's different disciplines. Will include things like audit prep performance, corrective actions. Sorry, on the next slide. There we go. I got a delay. I don't know why I've got this delay. I've got a delay on everything. Managing contracts, reutilization programs, recycling, sales, grants, relief of stewardship, fleet management systems and analysis, plans and procedures, records, consumption, the CPPS, the A and the M, the FAR, the DFARs, ABCDF, just kidding. Special test equipment, title and liability, implementing voluntary consensus standards, and so much more. We currently have a link, an active link to sign up for the mentoring program. But once the first mentor and mentee group is nearing completion, it will be sent out to sign up. So we already have people waiting in the sides to get in on this. Now there are about 30 members that had already signed up, and we have about 20 consulting fellows that have committed to support, with more to come. Next slide, please. So in preparation, releasing soon, there will be training for the mentors and the mentees to help you be prepared to participate fully in the program. We will host separate group training sessions for both the mentors and the mentees. At these sessions, we will discuss expectations, introduce you to program structure, and provide advice and best practices for success. We will not leave you hanging. This is also where we will share any templates or specific mentoring type activities, introduce you to any tools you'll use, and address any questions or concerns. Next slide, please. So next comes the pairing. So the pairing is a selection committee will pair the mentors and mentees together. Participants will have a trial period to test out the match. There's nothing worse than feeling stuck in a mentor-mentee relationship that you don't think will work out. And giving both the mentors and the mentees a formal opportunity to opt out for their matches will prevent any bad feelings and result in the best possible pairing for everyone. That is, of course, fingers crossed. Next slide, please. So communication. Even when the program is up and running, the work doesn't end. We all lead busy lives and can find it challenging to make time to meet. And it will be up to the mentee to schedule and follow up with the mentor. The mentorship committee will implement regular touch points to check in on your progress and provide helpful resources. Next slide, please. So program growth. Once the first group of mentor-mentee pairs have launched and is running smoothly, we will work to start a second round or a second wave. The mentorship committee will be gathering feedback from each participant as the program progresses to ensure expectations are being met, as well as develop ways to improve the program for existing participants and encourage other members to participate. Next slide, please. So at our annual national seminar, coming to you July 29th through August 1st at the incredible Pepper Mill Hotel Resort, early bird registration rate until June 3rd, an official update will be given, where we should have some successes and lessons learned to share. Next slide, please. And that is it. We're now opened up for questions. I don't know if there's any questions for Yvonne or I, but we'll at least let us know what has been typed into the chat so we know.
We have one question. Somebody wants to know if they signed up at the 2023 NES to be a mentor or a mentee, I guess mentee probably. Are they okay, or will they need to reapply?
I've got their information, and we'll be reaching out to. I've got their information, and we'll be reaching out to them shortly. Yep.
Okay. Somebody wants to know if they can call dibs on mentors. I'm assuming that's not going to happen.
Well, depending on what it is that they're looking for in a mentor, I don't think dibs really come into play, but more what the person is a subject matter expert in. We might have the mentors calling dibs on mentees. I don't know, but I'm not going to leave that open to anybody to play. We're not going to be shuffling cards and just seeing which way it goes best. We're going to be pairing up best with best, and again, that we'll have that opportunity where somebody says, "Yeah, it's really just not working," to just kind of back out, and that's okay. Because that's the whole point of this, is for it to be a benefit to both the mentor and the mentee.
All right. Let's see. Oh, so there was a question. Somebody missed the first part of it. They wanted to know, is the mentee option still open to sign up? Do you want to explain that one more again, real quick?
Yes. So right now we have waiting in the wings a group of mentees, about 30 of them, and another 20 mentors, so our consulting fellows that have raised their hand and said they're willing to help. That doesn't mean that there's only, we have 10 extra. I'm sure that there's a couple of the mentors that won't have a problem working with more than one mentee. And the reason for that is it's not going to take a lot of time on the mentor's part. It's just time scheduled, like was mentioned before, that the mentee says, okay, this is when it's available, when does it work in your time? And there will be other things that will be clarified in the training as to the agreements between the mentor and the mentee. But as far as signing up right now, after we get things going with this first wave of people that have already signed up as mentees, then we'll have a go out in the news flash and elsewhere that the link is open, and we should have it on the website. So once that goes out in the news flash, we'll have a link that can be found on the website where people can go in and sign up. So not immediately, but soon.
And someone anticipated that. They wanted to know where the mentor program is on the website.
It is hidden right now. It's all still back room that we're working on. Doug Getz is polishing up the training for both the mentor and the mentee. Once we get that in place, then we will launch that training for those people that have already signed up, both the mentors and the mentees. So they'll get that training. And once that is done, then we will have a go live for posting things on the website. Yep.
Someone wanted to know, how long are the mentorship terms?
That's a great question, and it is absolutely up to the mentor and the mentee, primarily the mentee. I mean, well, I guess the mentor could say, "I'm done with this person," but it really is what is needed. Talking with other people that have had official mentorship programs that they've been involved in, typically at least a couple months, meeting once a week or every other week. Again, this is dependent upon what is determined between the mentor and the mentee, what works out best for them, and maybe up to 6 months. But then after that, and that doesn't have to be that long. That doesn't mean it's a commitment for 6 months for anybody. It's just, again, whatever works out best for the mentor and the mentee. But they'll go as long as is beneficial and reasonable. And that doesn't mean that these people, the two individuals, can't have a continuing unofficial mentoring relationship. Maybe it's just a tag up for lunch, or they see each other once a year at NES to see how things are going. I don't know, but it really is it really is dependent, and that will be clarified, and some guidelines will be given in the training. So people aren't just like, I guess I got to do this for a whole year. So there's no surprises. There will be an agreement between the mentor and the mentee.
Perfect. Thank you. The thank yous are coming in, of course. I don't see any other questions. Oh, wait, hold on one sec. Are there specific qualifications for mentors? So
the specific qualifications for mentors, right now we're just using consulting fellows. that does not mean we're not going to be opening it up, because there are a ton of members in our association that are subject matter experts in all walks of property management. And that doesn't mean that they couldn't qualify to become a consulting fellow. By the way, you guys, those people that are amazing, please put in your application to become a consulting fellow. We'd love to have as many as we can get. But that being said, so as far as the mentoring is concerned, there's not a qualification. Right now, we are just using consulting fellows. We will eventually open it up externally to those that are not consulting fellows. You don't even have to have a certification. If you're a subject matter expert on fleet, and you just have been so busy that you can't get a certification, that does not mean you can't be a mentor. But we're not there yet. We're going to let this program grow some legs, and then we'll open it up further.
Perfect. All right. That appears to be it for the questions. If people do have follow-up questions after this, is there somewhere they can contact either of you?
Yeah. So if you go to the next, yes, if you go to the next slide, you'll see Yvonne's contact information and my contact information. And yeah, you can, they can reach out to either one of us depending on whether it's mentorship program or professional development. We love questions. We don't mind the unofficial mentoring, because that's really what the NPMA is all about. You've got the networking that just turns into unofficial mentoring. We're just kind of trying to formalize it so there's a little bit more structure, and put another feather in our cap as far as the association is concerned.
All right, Scott.
All right. Oh yeah, Lisa, we were speaking right at the same time, so we were on the same page. I just wanted to say thank you to Scott and Yvonne for agreeing to present today. Thank you for the content that you shared. If you have anyone has any additional questions for them, feel free to reach out, and I'm sure they would graciously respond to any further inquiries that you may have. And that does it for AMAM 2024. I'd like to just say thank you to Lisa Williams for all her support in making these sessions happen, and in all the other things that she does behind the scenes that make these sessions successful. I'd like to thank all of the speakers for taking time to put together presentations, to present the presentations. And I'd like to thank all of you, all of our participants who logged in each and every week and participated in each one of these 5 sessions that we had. I feel that the more you participate, the more benefit you get, and the more you can advance your own careers. So thank you all very much for allowing or joining us over this last month and making it a very successful Asset Management Awareness Month for 2024. Again, my name is Scott Ray. I'm the Vice President of Seminars and Events for the NPMA, and I just want to close by saying thank you again. I hope you all have a wonderful week and weekend. Happy Easter. For those who may be watching sports over the next couple of days or over the weekend, best of luck to your respective teams if they are still in the March Madness tournament, men's or women's, because both of those are happening over the next couple of days. Get into the really important rounds, to the Final Four here in the next week or so. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you. If you have any other questions, please do reach out to myself or Lisa or anybody at the NPMA. We're happy to assist. And again, have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Scott.